as we take a look at the evolution of the Bill of Rights, we see that we've added the 11th and the 12th Amendment, and those were mainly cleaning up some of the problems that had not been foreseen at the beginning when they wrote the Bill of Rights. After that comes the three amendments that came as part of the Civil War. So we're going to look at the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendments. The 13th Amendment is pretty easy. It says no slavery. Okay? So that's something that's pretty clear and pretty obvious. Some things to think about, though, are if we have no slavery, can you be asked to work for free? For example, if the government said, you in your position should work for free because it's a national emergency, does that constitute slavery? That's an interesting one. Does that kind of thing constitute slavery if you're asked to do things for free by your government? So it used to be thought of as, pretty clear, pretty cut and dry, but things are starting to creep in now, like if you in your position are asked to work for free, where does that fall on the continuum of slavery? So something to watch out for in the future, something to think about as you vote. Can you demand that people work for free? That's an issue that might actually come under the 13th Amendment. Okay? Another one to consider here then is the 14th Amendment, and that deals with citizenship. Everyone born in the United States is a citizen, and everyone who is a descendant of someone who is a citizen is also a citizen. So we have two concepts here that when we talk about citizenship, what we really mean. The first one is by the blood. It's a Latin phrase that I'm not going to, you don't need to know that part, but what you need to understand is that if any of your parents are citizens of the United States, then you also are a citizen of the United States. So no matter where you are, no matter where you go, if your parents are citizens, you are a citizen as well. An example of this would be President Obama. His mother was a U.S. citizen. His father was not a U.S. citizen. But because one of his parents was a citizen, that makes him a citizen. Okay? So it doesn't matter, your parentage, as long as one of them is a citizen of the United States, you also gain that citizenship. I believe Senator Ted Cruz is also in that category. And so, yeah. He's got a parent that is Canadian and a parent that is American. He is American. Now, some countries will offer dual citizenship, and Canada, I think, is one of those. However, if you join the armed forces, you have to renounce your, Canadian citizenship and just have total citizenship towards America. So there are fine-tuned details that come with citizenship in that regard, but it's a pretty easy process. If any of your parents are citizens, you are too. The second one is by the soil. By the soil means that if you are born on American soil, you are automatically an American citizen. Okay? So if you're born in America, even if neither of your parents are citizens, you are a citizen as well. You become one just by being born on the soil of America. Because remember, when our founding fathers were setting this up, a lot of people, pretty much everyone, was an immigrant. And so to gain citizenship simply by being here and being born here, you were a citizen. Now that also counts for military bases overseas, counts as American soil. So I've known people that were born overseas in other countries, but they were born on American soil because it was that military base or that embassy, kind of thing. And so, yeah, wherever American soil is, if someone is born there, they're an American citizen. The third way is called a naturalization process, and we can get into that later, but just to summarize it, it's where you desire to become a citizen, and you basically have a permit to be on that path of naturalization, and then over several years, if you prove yourself not to be a convicted felon, armed robbery, stealing from banks, then yeah, you're good to go after 7 years usually. So it takes a lengthy process, but you can become an American citizen. All right, so that's what the 14th Amendment deals with, and a few other things. The 14th Amendment also says that states must follow the directives of the federal government. So this is a big concern in the Civil War, because it was the federal government saying, you will do what we say, and the southern states said, no, we won't do what you say. So at the end of the Civil War, this became the ideal. States' rights are pretty much gone. Okay? So in getting rid of something like slavery, what we also got rid of was the idea that states have rights to do things autonomously compared to the federal government. So instead of being a structure of, different states that each had their own version of how things work, what we've now become with the 14th Amendment is a centralized structure. It's a pyramid. Like the federal government says this, the states do this, the counties do this, the cities do this, and everything is centralized and structured to the top. So the 14th Amendment is what really changed America from a United States to a national sort of American government. There was no conglomeration of states anymore. We were just one entity. All right? And so that has been the case ever since the Civil War. It took time, gradually, but slowly. You can see over time we've become more and more centralized in how we approach things. And that's because of the 14th Amendment has that happen. Okay? And incidentally, this is the one that really hurts the 9th and 10th Amendment, because the 9th and 10th said, hey, all rights not listed here in the Constitution are given to the states. But if this is the case, the federal government simply says, well, this is the way it is. How does that work with the 9th and 10th Amendment? It really kind of nullifies them. And if the Supreme Court rules, as they have, that the 14th matters more, states' rights are not as important, then the 9th and 10th Amendments simply fade into the background. Okay? So this is a big change in America because of that. It gets rid of the 9th and the 10th, it diminishes the power of states greatly, and it enhances the centralization of the federal government. The 15th Amendment is pretty easy. It says you cannot deny people's right to vote based on race. Okay? Now you need to know this still wasn't a women's right to vote at that time. This was still only reserved for men. And so you can see the evolution over time. We're going to get to later amendments where women have the right to vote. But yeah, the 15th, you cannot deny people the right to vote based on race. So that's pretty clear. All right? So these are the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendments that came about after the Civil War. Thanks.